Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Mic Drop Mentorship. My name is Casey Coleman, one of the co-founders of Pre-PT Grind and physical therapist. If you're new to Pre-PT Grind and the Pre-Doctor of Physical Therapy Students page, this is where we come in 3 times a week to drop some value, to drop some gems, to make your life easier, to make your life a little more stress-free as a pre-PT student trying to get into PT school. Then after that, getting through PT school. Then after that, leveling up your career as a physical therapist. We're trying to make you the best future PTs that you can be. But the first step is getting into PT school. So that's what we're all about, trying to get you into PT school without wasting time or money. And this is what we do. We give value. We drop gems for you to make your life easier. So on this Mic Drop Mentorship, I want to talk about letters of recommendation. What's going on? Aaron, thanks for joining. Taylor, what's up? Mac, what is up, guys? So on this one, I want to talk about the 5 steps to an awesome letter of recommendation, a fantastic letter of recommendation. And these 5 steps are, some of them might be common sense, some of them you may not have heard before, but I'm going to dive into them just a little bit more in detail. So number one, for the 5 steps to an awesome letter of recommendation. Number 1 is to understand how letters of recommendation are viewed. Understand how letters of recommendation are interpreted by the people who are reading them. We got to understand this game first. Like it's more than just a letter of recommendation. Somebody just write it, send it in. I'll be good. No. Understand how they're being viewed. Understand what they're really seeing. Understand how they're reading between the lines in these letters of recommendation. So basically what I'm saying is a good letter of recommendation, even a great letter of recommendation, is seen as the standard. Yes, a great letter of recommendation is seen by the schools as DPT programs as the standard. They're expecting a great letter of recommendation. They're expecting a good letter of recommendation from the people who you're asking to write them from. Like, why else would you ask them to write it if it wasn't going to be great? So they're expecting to see something awesome. And if they don't see something awesome, man, So basically what I'm saying is a good or a great letter of recommendation is like, oh, okay, that's nice. Perfect. That's what we wanted to see. A bad letter of recommendation is like, oh, crap. Something is going on here with this applicant. We need to pay attention here. This person is trying to tell us something. The person who's writing on their behalf is trying to tell us something. So maybe we should pay a little bit more attention to them in not so much of a good way. Maybe we should put a red flag by them or whatever. And a bad letter of recommendation is something like, Johnny came on time. He cleaned the tables. He was nice. Like, you don't want that standard cookie cutter letter of recommendation, because what they're seeing, they're reading between the lines like, oh, shoot, that's all they had to say about this person? That's all they had to say about Johnny? That's all they had to say about Sarah? There's something going on here that we should maybe dig a little deeper into, or maybe just scratch them off the list right now. Because something is not right here. Everybody else is getting great letters of recommendation, and they're just getting a subpar, copied letter of recommendation from this person. That's not going to fly. So make sure your letters of recommendation are on point. They're great because that's just what they're expecting. That's what you need to just play the game. So understand that from how they're interpreting these letters of recommendation, that you got to have banging letters as the basic foundation. And I'm going to go through in these next 4 steps of how to do that. So that's number 1. Understand what this even means. Understand how they're interpreting these letters. Number 2, how to get an awesome letter of recommendation. Put yourself in their shoes, meaning the shoes that you're asking the person to write from. Like, just think about it. If you were a physical therapist, if you were a professor, if you were an employer, and someone came up to you asking for a letter of recommendation, how would you like to be asked, first of all? Then what kind of pre-PT would you write a banging letter of recommendation for? What kind of pre-PT who would you kind of half-ass it for? Answer that first. Like, if you were in their shoes, like most of you guys are in college now, some of you coming from different career paths. If someone in high school came to you like, I'm trying to get into your college. Can you write me a letter of recommendation? What kind of student would you like to write a letter of recommendation for? What kind of student would you half-ass a letter for? Think about it. If you didn't know this student and they just came out of nowhere, emailing you, asking you, they only saw you online, They met you maybe once, then they lost touch for 2 years, then they're asking for a letter. You might be like, well, I don't really know you like that. Well, I can write one, but it won't be great. As opposed to somebody who's, stayed in contact, who was the best student ever, who was volunteering at your job, and they did everything you could imagine. They went above and beyond. You would love to write a letter for that student. It's just simple. It's just common sense. So don't overcomplicate this thing. Put yourself in their shoes, and it'll make your life so much easier. Just sit there and say, what kind of pre-PT would I love to write a letter of recommendation for? What kind of pre-PT would I not want to write a letter of recommendation? And become the student who you would write a great letter of recommendation for. So that's number 2. Put yourself in their shoes. What's going on, Connor? What else we got on here? Diana, Zophie, Ariana. What's up, guys? Thanks for joining. But that's easy. That's simple, right? Put yourself in their shoes. We talk about it all the time. So make it simple for yourself. That's number 2. Put yourself in their shoes. Number 3, how to ask. How to ask for an awesome letter of recommendation, right? Tell them how they inspired you. Tell them why you're even asking them. Tell them what you've learned from them. Butter them up a little bit. Make them feel good. Boost their ego first. Then after that, tell them why they're uniquely qualified. Like make them feel good about why you chose them. You could have chose anybody. You really could have. You could have chose anybody out here. There's thousands of physical therapists. There's tens of thousands of physical therapists. There's tens of thousands of professors. Why them? Why are you choosing Mr. Johnson? Why are you choosing Mrs. Jones to write your letter of recommendation? Tell them. Tell them why they're uniquely qualified to write your letter of recommendation. Then tell them that you respect their opinion on why you would be a great applicant or why you would be a great physical therapist or why whatever. Tell them that first. Tell them why they're uniquely qualified. Tell them why you respect them. Tell them how much you learn from them. Tell them why you're inspired by them. Tell them why you're even asking them. Because they probably get a bunch of students wanting to write their letter. And they're just being nice, like, okay, sure, I'll write it. But why? Make yourself different. Make yourself stand out. It's the little small things. Tell them why they're uniquely qualified. Tell them why you respect their opinion. Tell them why you picked them out of all the people you could have chosen from. And tell them why they inspired you. So that's how you ask first. You're like, I don't even know where to start. Do I just come out and blurt it out? Do I just go to their office hours and just say, I need this? Like, no, give them some context first. Give them something to work with. Butter them up, stroke their ego. Then go in and tell them, after you told them why they're uniquely qualified, all that stuff I just said, then go in and say, I'd be honored if you write this on my behalf, blah, 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 whatever. And that's how you can go in there and be a little more smooth with it. Be a little more suave. Don't just be awkward like, can you write my letter? Like, come on, we can do better than that. So that's number 3, how to ask. That's number 3. Number 4, when to ask. Get this question a lot. When to ask. Ask as early as freaking possible. Ask now. Ask yesterday. Ask last week. If you have that opportunity now, if you have that great relationship with them now, why wait? Why wait? And a lot of people are like, well, PTCast doesn't open and they don't want to write it until then and they don't know what to do. Explain this to them. Explain that you can save them time. Explain that you can save them effort. Explain that you can save them stress in the future. If they write it now and save it, by the time PTCast opens, all they have to do is upload it, click a few buttons, and they're done. They don't have to write it in July. They can write it now, save it, then upload it. That will save them so much time, so much stress, so much effort, so much anxiety when they have stuff going on 6 weeks, 8 weeks down the line that they'll even forget about you. They'll forget what you guys even talked about. They'll forget a lot of things. They have a full life going on. They have a full career. They got a patient caseload. They're not worried about your little letter of recommendation. I'm sorry if that burst your bubble, but they're not. They have so much other things going on. They have so many other things going on. So if you can make their life easier now, do it. Why wait? If you have that relationship now, if you built that rapport, if you did everything I said in steps 1, 2, 3, ask them now. Or you're just going to lose contact with them and you'll be climbing up that hill again, trying to be like, oh shoot, now I got to reach out again. How do I reach out? Then I got to remember what I did. Then they have to remember what they did and how I was. It's just too much. If they're willing to write it now, if you're willing to ask them now, that would be your best bet. Don't wait. Speed wins in this game. What are you waiting for? There's really no reason to do that. So number 4 is when to ask. Ask now. Don't let that time lapse. So that's number 4. And lastly, number 5, what to include. What to include in this letter of recommendation. If you're asking them for the right reasons and you've done everything you tell us you've done, and you're this great pre-PT and you went to all these observation hours and you got this grade in the class and you went to office hours, then they should be able to write something as genuine as possible. Something authentic as possible so that can shine through. Don't have them write something that's, cookie cutter. Don't have them write something that everybody else that they've written something for everybody else for. If you're somebody who you say you are, it should come across as authentic. Connor, let's see. What if we're applying next cycle? No. Why? If you know them now, ask them now. That's a whole year. I mean, if you're working at a job and you want to wait, I mean, technically you can, but why? If you're in their class and it's a professor right now, and you're not going to be taking their class again, and you're going to lose touch, ask them now. Even if it is somebody you're working with, ask them now and they can hold on to it. Or they can email it to you, then you can hold on to it. If they don't want to do that, they can just type it up now. Since everything is fresh in their mind, then they just hold on to it. Next year, they pull it out of their archives, they click a few buttons, they upload it to PTCast, and it's done. That's it. So even in that situation, a year from now, I'd still say ask as soon as possible. Ask as soon as possible. Number 5, what to include. Like I was saying, if they know you as well as you say they do, they should be able to write something authentic and let that shine through. If they're still like, man, I know you great and I just want to do something that will make your application stand out that much better, and they don't really know what to put, as long as they put something to the effect of, this is why Connor would be a great physical therapist. This is why Connor would be a great addition to your school. This is why, Ariana is this type of person and she would benefit you in this way. As long as that's in there, something about physical therapy, something about PT school, then you're good to go. Have them write about you. Have them write about how well you've done over the past year. Have them write about how great you are. Have them write about something authentic. Make sure that's all in there, but make sure they include something about physical therapy. Why you would be a great addition to the profession. Why you would be a great addition to that physical therapy school. Because after all, this is a physical therapy application. So have them write whatever they want, but have them include that. So that's really it. The 5 steps to an awesome letter of recommendation. Number 1, understand how they view letters of recommendation. Number 2, put yourself in their shoes, in the PT shoes, in the professor's shoes, in the employer's shoes. Put yourself in their shoes. Number 3 is how to ask. Number 4 is when to ask. And number 5 is what to include. I'll go through that one more time. 5 steps to an awesome letter of recommendation. 1, understand how they view letters of recommendation. Understand how the faculty in these DPT programs view them. Number 2, put yourself in the person's shoes who's writing it. Number 3, understand how to ask. Number 4, understand when to ask. Number 5, tell them what to include. So that's really it. 5 steps to an awesome letter of recommendation. Hope that helped. I am going to hop on over to Instagram Live and talk on the same topic again. So if you want to follow me over there, hop on over to Instagram. I'll be over there in a few minutes. But if you enjoyed this, if this helped you, if this was valuable to you, tag your friends, invite them to the group, listen to our podcast, subscribe to YouTube, all the stuff. We're on the internet. You guys know how to work it. You guys know how to find us. And yeah, this is another Mic Drop Mentorship. We will see you on the next one, the next pre-PT chat, next podcast, and see you around. Hope this helped. Take care.